Welcome to CERAWeek 2024. My name is Nirmal Shani, and I lead the Asia Pacific business for CERAWeek by S&P Global. We have with us today Mr. Hyoung-Seog Kim, who is the Chief Technology Officer and also the Product and Technology Strategy Lead for Hanwha Ocean, which is a part of the Korean conglomerate, the South Korean conglomerate, Hanwha Group. Welcome to CERAWeek 2024. We hope you're having a good first one.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
We are all aware that the shipping industry is responsible for about 3% at least of the global GHG emissions. And, at the Hanwha Group and Hanwha Ocean, I know you're focused on working closely in that industry to be able to mitigate these emissions and actually achieve the industry, help the industry achieve net zero by 2050. How are you doing that?
Yes, really. As you indicated, the marine transportation sector accounts for 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. We can see the figure of 3%. It seems like not so significant, but it translates to about 1 billion tons in weight. So much amount of CO2. And over 90% of goods are transported by sea, and shipping is naturally very international activity. So regardless of the feeling about the figure of 3%, I think GHG reduction shall be regarded as the first priority subject to be solved. So recently, IMO revised its GHG strategy, shifting from 50% emission reduction target to aiming for net zero by 2050, as we mentioned. Given that about 95% of ships' carbon footprint stems from fuel oil, improvements in energy efficiency and adoption of alternative fuels are crucial, I think, for reducing emissions. Hanwha Ocean has been steadily working towards decarbonizing ships through various technological advancements. This includes various kinds of energy-saving devices. The philosophy of energy-saving devices is to reuse or recycle of the already used wasted energy, or to make much use of already existing natural energy source.
And how do you do that?
There is a heat recovery system, or we have a resistance reduction system like air bubble under the ship's hull, or we can use the shaft generator system, which means the engine directly run the propeller, and then the shaft is rotating. Then the rotating force can be converted to electricity. So that is basic philosophy of shaft generator. So we can minimize wasted energy ship's operation. So, however, achieving net zero emissions in the shipping industry will require more radical changes, I think, because the energy-saving devices has supplementary one. So for us to dramatically change the situation, we need to do something radically. So to this end, Hanwha Ocean is striving to construct the world's first large-scale zero-emission gas carrier, utilizing ammonia-fueled gas turbine for carbon-free electrification. To address the current reliance on oil as a pilot fuel, even for dual-fuel internal combustion engines, they need pilot fuel for ignition. So by using internal combustion engine, we cannot reach the real net zero. So we, for solving that problem, we are considering gas turbine technology.
It's interesting you say that because, there's a lot of focus, as we've seen at CERAWeek this year, on production of new energy, production of renewable energy. And, these new forms of energy, there's so much discussion around the production of it and how do you minimize costs, what the cost would look like, is the technology readily available, when it becomes commercially viable. And, there's so much debate and discussion around those aspects. But it's interesting that you bring this perspective of saying that, okay, fine, you can produce it in discussion on storage. But, I think the supply chain linkage to, from demand centers, between demand centers and production centers is so critical. And that's what I think your role comes in?
Yes, in our industry, there is upstream,
Yes.
and in production side, and downstream, user side, and shipping is we call midstream. So for us, the renewable energy can be regarded as a cargo as well as fuel of the ships. So we have two different approaches.
Can do it.
So anyway, our company is actively engaged in research and verification efforts concerning the storage and handling of eco-friendly energy sources. Here, the dual energy sources means LNG, ammonia, and even liquid hydrogens.
That's great. And, as we all know, the key factor in all of this is the commercialization of technology, right? How is Hanwha focusing on developing the whole value chain in the industry to bring this to market and make it commercially viable?
Make it commercially available, yes. For us to adopt dual fuel like ammonia or hydrogen, I think we have to think two different aspects. One is commercial viability. The other one is adaptability from the owner side. Because this new technology, ship itself requires very huge amount of capex installment. And the lifespan of the ship is at least 15 years. So for the owner side, taking the new technology is, they may say it is risky. So they hesitate to adopt any newly developed, brand new, especially innovative technologies. So for avoid that kind of situation, we willingly we will construct and even own the vessel for the demonstration to the market. So we are considering our own shipping branch to do that.
Yes.
So after set up that company, then I think we will be in a better position in the market as a shipbuilder and as well as ship owner.
So that's a great forward integration strategy that I think you're working on in terms of being able to take these new technologies to market. If I ask you to crystal gaze, maybe, over the next 10 years, let's say you're back at CERAWeek in 2020, 2034, how would you have seen the development of the maritime sector in supporting these net zero goals, and how far do you think you would have reached in maybe the next 10 years?
In next 10 years, the IMO level, the target is 70%. But I think 10 years can be very long time or sometimes very short time. I have to, anyway, we have to meet the IMO target.
Yes.
So I think we can meet by the collaboration of stakeholders. We can accelerate. I think the speed of the development is like this, exponential at some point of time. Then I think we can meet that target.
Well, on that great positive note, and the fact that collaboration is, again, a critical success factor to make this happen, we'd like to thank you once again, Mr. Kim, for your time at CERAWeek. And I know you had a very busy schedule, and thank you for taking the time to share your views with the CERAWeek community today. We wish you a fantastic conference over the next few days. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.